Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Nomi, yeah, you know me, and I am here to review Love is Blind Season 3, Episode 8. This episode was packed with so much drama. I was like, oh my goodness, I took so many notes, so I have a lot to go over with you guys. But before we get started, I'm going to have to ask you to do me one little favor. If you are liking this channel so far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're feeling ever so gracious, leave a like. And if you're feeling chatty, please leave a comment. I would love to know what you guys think by the end of this video. And so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into this tea. Okay, so we get into the first scene, and Matt has had another temper tantrum, packed his bags, and left Colleen. My gosh. So this was after he had yet another temper tantrum over Colleen and this Cole situation, plus her going to the club and him arriving at home to find that she wasn't there or she didn't show up to meet him as she supposedly agreed to. To me, Matt and Colleen, they're not very interesting. I typically don't pay them much mind. There's no point in going in depth over their issues because they should not be together. Matt should not be dating anybody. He's a certified nut job. And Colleen is just... she's not ready to really like be in a serious relationship. So I don't know what she thinks she's doing. They don't have a whole lot of substance to talk about besides Matt throwing tantrums, Colleen crying, Colleen being a ballet dancer, and this little situation about Colleen and Cole being attracted to each other. Like, okay, whoop-de-doo, big deal, no one really cares. So we're just gonna waltz all over to the next person. In the midst of Matt having this temper tantrum, Bartise decides to come over to console him. Basically trying to tell Matt that he is a very lucky man. He's in a very lucky situation to be attracted to the woman that he is with. So here we go with Bartise making this about him when no one was concerned about what's going on between him and Nancy. But somehow his subconscious just leaked out and he couldn't help but to make the situation have to do something with what he is supposedly going through with his lack of physical attraction to Nancy. I noticed that Bartise chalked up his issues with Nancy to her wanting him to jump her bones. I don't know if it was just me, but I found that very disrespectful that he would take it and try to make it about sex. Nancy wasn't crying about sex. He clearly didn't have an issue having sex with her. Somehow he found all the issue with the fact that she didn't look the way that he wanted her to. Yet he was still sleeping with her. And Nancy is a very physically affectionate person. I thought it showed his immaturity and the fact that he's not willing to face what the true issue is here. In my opinion, he's still looking for any reason to have friction with Nancy. He's taking a magnifying glass and finding these microscopic crumbs and turning it into a whole big deal. So he's still on his BS about lacking physical attraction to Nancy, but he keeps talking about this emotional connection. Well, sir, if the emotional connection was that strong that you could ignore her physical features, even though he's acting like she's ugly when she's not, Nancy is very beautiful. If this emotional connection was so strong that it would keep you guys together, why do you have to keep bringing it up? Are you trying to convince yourself, Bartise? Because it looks like you're trying to convince yourself and you're failing miserably. Bartise, stop the cap. Like, seriously, just stop the cap. This dude is so shallow, it's outrageous. I don't think that all of his issues with Nancy necessarily have to do with him not being physically attracted to her as much as Nancy is ready for a big commitment and he's not. This guy is not, he's not ready for any kind of marriage. It wouldn't matter if it was Raven with the personality of Nancy, he still wouldn't be ready. And no one can convince me otherwise. Something else that I didn't like that Bartise is doing is that he keeps stringing Nancy along and giving her hope that they could regain what was lost at the beginning. And to me, it really comes off as if he's playing this emotionally abusive / emotionally manipulative game with her instead of just being real. Why don't you just tell her what it is, okay? You don't want to be romantically with her. You don't. Why are you lying? And why is Nancy letting him lie to her? Can we talk about that? I just need to understand, why is it that Nancy is 31 years old and she can't peep the game? From a 25-year-old, some weak game at that. I see that Nancy's a very sweet person. She has a beautiful heart, and I think she is a beautiful person. But I also see that she's naive and she's choosing to be willfully obtuse. I'm not understanding how you're 31 years old and you don't see this. Stevie Wonder could have seen this. Like, what's going on, Nancy? Do you need to borrow my glasses? Like, girlfriend, I need you to put these on and I need you to see with me. Like, I need you to see that this guy is full of crap and he is playing you. It may be that she's flattered by this guy who's physically fit and attractive. Physically attractive. Body-wise, because it ain't it. Now I can't stand that hairstyle. But maybe it's his body. Maybe it's the fact that they did have all those conversations, you know, that got her little heart fluttering and whatnot. Maybe she's flattered by the prospect of being in a relationship with him. But I don't see how you could remain being flattered by someone who's telling you that he's not physically attracted to you. What? I don't care how good of a heart you think I have if you're telling me that you're not physically attracted to me, but you like my heart. For what? For what you can get out of it? That's clearly what he was saying. I mean, he likes her energy. He likes her personality, but because he's feeding off of it. That's why it's making him feel good on the inside. But he has a problem with the way that you look. She acknowledged that it's something that she's never going to be able to change. So why are you still accepting this, Nancy? I don't understand. You're too beautiful. You're too sweet to be with this guy. Like, seriously, no. A major thing I noticed with Bartise is he just does not want to be the bad guy. Even though he's failing to see that he's making himself look bad overall with the things that he's saying to Nancy, he doesn't want to be the person to end the relationship. He wants her to do it. He tried every which way to hurt her to the point that she would give up and dump him so that he wouldn't have to be the one to dump her because he's a coward. Nancy is in La La Land and she's not seeing the signs here, eating cotton candy and strolling over rainbows and whatnot. That's why he chose to tell her all about Raven and talking about how he's not physically attracted to her, withholding affection from her, knowing that she's a very affectionate person and she loves the hugging, the kisses, the holding hands. She's that kind of person. And he withheld that from her and went straight cold turkey on her with the hopes that she would cut the relationship off, but she's not catching it. I don't know. If you ask me, Nancy is this season's Iyanna. What's the difference? The only thing this time around is that the disrespect is even more blatant and the girl is even more devoted. That's the only difference. But she's this season's Iyanna, and I'm so disappointed to see this storyline yet again. And I just have to question, what did Nancy do so wrong that Bartise has to remind himself of why he fell in love with her in the pods? The answer is nothing. She didn't do anything wrong except allow him to put her down and make her seem less than another woman because he's physically attracted to the other woman over her. That's what she did wrong. She should have left right when he started with that BS, but she didn't. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's okay. Act like a real 25-year-old and tell her, look, I don't think this is going to work out. Why can't you do that? You're acting like you're ready for marriage. You're not ready to be a man? And tell it how it is? What's the problem? Whew. Girl, that got me hot. Can you tell? I need to know what you guys thought about that dude. What is the read that you got on him? Because what I got is certified douchebag should not be on the show. You should have never came here because you were never looking for anything serious to begin with. If you've never mastered having a serious committed relationship before, what makes you think you're going to come up in here and make an emotional connection with someone only to be surprised by their physical appearance and hope to God that you're attracted to them and think that you're actually going to be able to maintain that relationship? What was the reason? I need to understand. I really need to understand. But you know, I'm gonna move along. I'm gonna move along because I went in on them a little bit. I did. So just carry along. The next couple that I want to discuss is Cole and Zanab. So in my opinion, Cole seemed to have made a genuine apology to Zanab about the way that he handled things with the whole Colleen situation, and he owned up to the fact that he emotionally wounded Zanab in the process of him being stupid. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. I'm still a little turned up. I'm trying to, okay, I just had to say that. And I can't say with certainty that I am sure that he was being genuine, because he could have just been, just trying to smooth things over. But I do feel like he was actually being genuine in his apology. And for me, that was refreshing to actually see them connect, because up until then, I couldn't really see any reason why those two even got together. I mean, it doesn't make everything better, because I still don't think that they're a good match, but it was good to actually see them kind of vibe a little bit so I could somewhat understand why they chose each other. But anyways, that's all I had for them, so we're going to move on to Alexa and Brennan. So the first thing that I've noticed is that Alexa and Brennan are so socially different. They are very, very different. I feel that Brennan would inevitably be put into a very docile position amongst her social peers. He appears to be trying to assert himself, but as soon as he tried to walk into the room and tackle this situation that he knew he was walking into, he's getting ordered around right off the bat. Alexa's commanding him to come over and kiss her. The friends are talking about, yeah, you're supposed to greet your wife first. You're in the friend group and you're trying to actually help your friend. It's not your job to be nagging at this dude, because I'm sure if he would have said something to them to check them, then it would have been an issue. Of course, Brennan, being the person that he is, he seems very docile because of the fact that he has so many feelings for Alexa. He's just accepting the way that the friends are talking to him. But I felt like the friends were out of line for that. They should have kept their mouths shut. What they should do is be quiet, look and observe, and bring up some points to her later for her to reflect over if you think that it's your place to help her analyze the situation. And so in that social event, I noticed that the friends were over talking him all the while he's trying to say his piece. And it may have been out of excitement, but that's still an overwhelming situation to be in when you're the new person there and these people can't even be quiet for a second to let you get your word in. You can just tell what kind of friends she has, and Alexa's that way too. She's just, out of the friend group, she seems like she's the more quiet one. But she also has that assertive nature about her too, and her friends definitely reflect that. One thing I did notice though, which I have to give him props for, is that he did not try to over-explain himself. When he said his piece about why he wants to be with Alexa, he didn't try to go into depth and, oh, it's about this, and well, we had this conversation that made me feel like it. Da, da, da. He said his piece. He wants to be with her, and that's the end of it. I liked it. I mean, it was about as assertive as he could get. I had to give him accolades for that because he is very sweet. So of course he wouldn't try to be disrespectful to Alexa's friends because he is so in love with her. That would reflect poorly upon him to go into the situation and make enemies out of Alexa's friends that she's probably known for several years. So off to Colleen and Matt. Again, Colleen seems to be playing her cards and weighing her options. And it seems that she's taking the opportunity of being near Matt's friends to get a better angle of viewing him. Something I noticed was that Matt was clearly ashamed when Colleen began to retell the story of why they were having disagreements or disruptments, or why Matt was having a temper tantrum. He honestly looked like a child being told on, and he didn't feel comfortable with the fact that the story was coming from her point of view rather than his. Something else that struck me was the fact that his friends know of his anger issues, but they still chose to reassure Colleen. But they're his friends, so they're going to look out for his interests instead. Okay, so off to Raven and SK. So first thing I noticed was Raven is so out of her element, it's laughable. I do have to admit though, I like the fact that she's trying to include both cultures is showing consideration for the other party. I noticed that Raven is trying to accommodate SK's family and make sure that they're comfortable, make sure that they're having a good time as well, and that they continue to welcome her. Now, what I didn't like is that SK's family is trying to push Raven to conform to their culture and their way of handling certain things. They were trying to push her to behave more like a Nigerian woman. But I felt that they were out of line for that, because if SK wanted a Nigerian woman, he would have picked a Nigerian woman. But he didn't. He picked Raven. And so I think that his family is now to fall back and let him deal with all the ramifications of his choice. That is how men learn. You tell them, if you do this, it's going to hurt you. They're like, oh, really? Let me try it and see for myself. And they want to cry when they get hurt. But that's how they learn. That's just how they are. And so I felt like his mother and his sister, I felt like they were out of line for that. Now, I understand that they were just trying to give her some friendly advice to help her not have so much friction between the different cultures merging. But SK is a grown man, and he knew what he was doing, right? If he wanted to meet a Nigerian woman, he would have met a Nigerian woman the traditional way, right? There's plenty of unwed, beautiful Nigerian women that would meet up to his standards that he could have gotten with, but he chose to go on Love is Blind because, remember, SK has a racial complex. Remember that SK had to be the first one to bring up, oh, well, when you go on dating apps, you can't hide your race. And, you know, sometimes women don't want to talk to you because you're not the race that they're looking for. Doesn't that mean he wasn't looking for a Nigerian woman? Because that's what I got. So I say let him get his ramifications for it. Don't try to change Raven. No, let Raven be who Raven is. Let her be who she is, because he chose her. He chose her. And I think this is a problem that some women have. Learn to step aside and let your sons deal with the repercussions of their actions. Let them have it. They need it. They literally need it. Okay, so now we're going to skedaddle back over to Bartise. At this point, is it me, or is Bartise looking for someone to tell him not to do it so that he can have a reason to back out? It seems like everything that he did, he tried to set things up in a way to where someone would tell him, no, this isn't a good idea, don't do it. But all of his family were actually supportive of his choice, because at the end of the day, this was his choice. His sister ended up being pretty neutral, and she told him to do whatever's in his heart. She was very balanced in her advice. And so I guess he didn't get what he was looking for, but it definitely seemed like to me that he was looking for someone to tell him not to do it. So that he can find yet another issue to have with Nancy. The last scene was Raven and SK again. SK now has his panties in a bunch over the fact that Raven isn't conforming enough to his family's expectations. Well, isn't that interesting? I've said it once, and I'll say it again. If SK wanted a Nigerian woman, he should have picked a Nigerian woman. He should not have picked a Raven if he wasn't going to accept what a Raven came with. You don't get to try to force Raven to conform to what you want her to be. Did you guys notice that in one of the earlier scenes that he said what he liked about Raven? He was basically saying that she was malleable and that he could introduce her to the culture and that she would accept it and try to embrace it pretty much. Why do you want to change her? Just go find the woman who has what you're looking for instead of culturally y'all have nothing in common. What's the reason? I don't understand. It's dumb. Raven is beautiful. She's a pretty woman, but you don't get to complain now because you're starting to realize that that's not all you want. You're the one who picked her. You don't get to try to force her to be something that she's not. You don't get to do that. And this is all based off of reading his body language, because out of his mouth, he didn't say much, but you could see it all over his facial expression, the way that he was looking at her, the way he couldn't sit still. He had to keep adjusting, and he's like doing this, and the way his facial expression, you can just tell that he was irritated with the fact that things weren't going over the way that he wanted it to. At the end of the day, Raven is getting annoyed with it. She is over it. She don't want no more parts of this. She's like, what more do y'all want? I can't force my family to come if they don't want to come. It's a good question to ask, Raven. It's a good question to ask. What do they want? Because to me, it sounds like they want a Nigerian woman. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. It's clear to me that SK was pushing and prodding to see just how much he could get her to conform. but he wasn't too pleased when he found out that she was at her limit of what she was going to do. I mean, for crying out loud, she's already including Nigerian culture in her wedding that she would have never chosen had it not been for you. She did that to make your family comfortable. She did that to make you comfortable when she didn't have to do that. Okay, guys. Whew. That was some tea. Oh my gosh, that episode literally drove me crazy with all that drama. Girl, this was just too much. This was too much. I just relived the stress that I went through watching that episode all over again, and I'm so glad to be done with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this very detailed review of these people and all their issues trying to get married. And I would love to know what you guys thought about it or what you have to say. So if there's something that you noticed that maybe I didn't speak on, drop it in the comment section. I would love to know what your eyes picked up on that mine didn't, because my brain was like explosion. I was so stressed out with this episode. And so there were some things that I probably missed. And you know, you can let me know in the comment section. You can let me know right after you subscribe and like this video. And remember, it's your girl Know Me, yeah, you know me, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.